I went to several schools in Adelaide. In fact, I went to a total of 12 schools over my education period, and we moved around quite a bit when we first came here. We ended up out at Elizabeth, and so we spent a reasonable amount of time there. And then I went to Elizabeth High School. I got a scholarship, so I went to university to do a bachelor's degree in electronics, and became an engineer. And I ended up being probably one of the youngest engineers to graduate from Adelaide Uni. So I was an engineer at 19, and I went over to Melbourne to work in design and research, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And in my last year, I met my wife Anne, and being over in Melbourne, her being in Adelaide was not the best arrangements. And
So how did you two meet each other then? Can't skip over this.
okay, well, we actually met when I first came out to Australia, and I started off at the Henley Beach Primary School, and she happened to be in the same class as I. And in fact, at being a Pom, I was still learning, how to kick a football and that sort of thing. But somehow, somewhere along the line, I got roped into a kiss chasey. And
How cute.
and believe it or not, my wife to be, I actually caught her and she went all giggly. And but then we moved on. So and it wasn't until very much later that it was the end of my second year at uni, and my mate and I, we decided that we'd have a bit of a party and whatnot, but I didn't have a girlfriend. And so he rang around and said, "Oh, I think I've got a date for you." So I met this young lady as a blind date. She didn't realise I was English. In fact, she thought that I could have been Chinese or something like that, because a name like Ken Ling could. So she got a bit of a surprise when I turned up. And she wasn't going to accept that at all, but she'd actually bought a new dress, so she wanted to, try out the new dress. So you can see it was sort of quite an unusual sort of situation to actually meet her again. And I must say that we hit it off very well on that first date, and much to the surprise of our friends.
Right.
So that's how it started.
Started with kiss chasey.
A long time ago, and obviously still lingered.
Yes.
How did you know that you were playing like Kiss Chasey all these years later? How did you know that was the thing, that you played that game together?
Oh, well, because I remembered it very clearly. It was the first time I'd actually held a girl, and I couldn't believe how soft they were.
Oh, right. Yes.
I mean,
We're soft, ladies.
Yeah, it's sort of. So I remembered it quite clearly. It was the only time I actually played Kiss Chasey. I thought that was sort of, that wasn't really for boys.
Did you kiss her in Kiss Chasey?
No, we didn't get to that. So anyway, she was wriggling around too much.
But he touched. Yeah. Anyway, this is a good story. Do you have back in those childhood years, did you have memories of England, or had you already moved? What age were you?
Well, I actually turned 8 shortly after we arrived here in Australia. But I had very clear memories of England. And in fact, when we went back to England in 2000, I could actually describe where I lived, where the streets were, what the school looked like, and so on. And so, very clear memories. And it was really quite interesting to see how much smaller everything was. I think most people have that experience, go back to where they were when they were a kid. And the main street was shorter, and all the rest of it, the shops were smaller. But yes, I remembered quite a bit. In fact, much to my wife's frustration, I can remember a lot of things, even when I was a little tacker. It's just one of those things that I'm able to do. Whereas she can't remember very much at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, you said you came over and you had the strong English accent. How did you come into being within sort of the Australian culture that was around at the time? How did you lose that accent?
Well, I didn't actually completely lose it.
Oh no, you've definitely still got some of it.
Yes,
but
that's
yeah.
right. I guess it's just growing up and going to different schools. There was obviously a big migrant population in Elizabeth. I used to be able to mimic people's accents. I was one of my part-time jobs while I was at high school was to go around and collect money for the paper round, and someone would answer the door and they would have an Irish accent, and so I'd put on my Irish lilt, or it could be a sort of an Italian type accent, so I sort of mimic that and so on. So in many ways, I guess that I've been a bit of a mimic if I really put my mind to it. And so perhaps acquiring an Australian accent wasn't that hard. And and also we were known as Poms, and that was quite a derisory sort of label that they put on us. But I mean, as a kid, you just put up with that and just laughed at it. But you actually learn to try and avoid, standing out from the crowd. When I came out from England, boys had shorts down to their knees. We had what we called satchels, and not the kit bags that the boys usually had in those days. So you had to sort of discard all that sort of paraphernalia and start to get in with what the other boys were doing.
What, did you get bullied or anything like that because of your different accent and where you came from?
No, not really. I think that I was more curiosity than anything. So occasionally I got bullied, but I learned in England how to stand up to bullies, so I never really sort of tolerated that very much. And so people learned that no, you don't really do that to Ken then.
Okay.
Eventually.
Fighting words. Thank you for watching this short clip of Life Bursts. You can like, subscribe, or follow for more, or head to rawcut.com.au.